Imagine having the life of your dreams. Not temporary cash and glory, but happiness and inner peace. Explore new ways to be a creator and take your own journey into greatness. Is it possible? What does it take to make that happen? It takes the person known for extreme results. He's called the cage breaker and the ultimate catalyst. Coming back from the brink of death and now crushing it for himself and his clients, this is Your Ultimate Life Podcast with Kellan Fluckiger.
Hello there, and welcome to today's episode of Your Ultimate Life. We are on episode 520, and today I want to invite you deeply to consider a couple of things. You know, we're building the pillar of integrity to create your palace of power. But before we get into the details of the second stone of integrity, I want to invite you as a listener to ask yourself, where are you on the path to creating your ultimate life? Are you living every day excited? Do you get up every day excited about what is coming today, that day, yesterday, today, tomorrow? Like every day when you wake up, is your thought excitement, anticipation? Is it dread? Is it average? Nothing? Kind of, wake up and do whatever you do to wake up. Some people, go get coffee and read the paper or the online paper or whatever it is. Like what is your experience with life right now? Mine used to be, well, at different periods in my life, it was different, but I remember a very significant period in my life where I got up. I always struggled with getting up on time. I had to catch an early flight every day. So I would get dressed, barely make it, drive faster than I should, get to the airport, park in the parking lot that was close, even though it was more money, rush in, get on the plane, and then try to catch some sleep in the 45 or 40-minute flight to where I had to be that day. Now, I'd tried different versions of that. I'd rented an apartment in the other city. I tried all kinds of things, but I specifically remember the time when I had to get up day after day and go do that and then get home and fly home at 5, get home at 6:30 or 7, and then, stumble through an evening, get up and do it all over again. That was miserable. It was just what I did. And I don't know, it's like someone who drives 2 hours to work. I used to know people in California who lived far away from the city, Sacramento or San Francisco, and lived up by Sacramento or out that way, or in the other direction, East Bay, would commute an hour and a half to 2 hours one way to work. And, do that over and over again. That's kind of what I did. Mine involved an airplane. That wasn't living an ultimate life. That was living a miserable life. I was getting paid a lot of money. I couldn't live in the other city because of other things that were going on that aren't really important. But here was the key. It was not ideal, and it was within my power to change. I could have made changes to that. I didn't want to. I didn't have the courage. I didn't have the wisdom. I didn't want to sit down and figure out what it would take to make some significant changes. So I didn't do it. Now, I don't know how your life is right now. I don't know if you work for the weekend in a job you hate, or if you're working from home now, or if you're running your own business. Whatever it looks like, are you living the ultimate life? Are you living a life of passion, purpose, prosperity, joy? Are you serving others with your divine gifts? Do you know what your divine gifts are? Are you living in joy every day? So that's just the real question, because that's the whole point of this podcast series, is to encourage you, to tell you that it is possible. You don't need to settle. I don't care where you are right now in any of those areas. You can start today, number one, enjoying your life, and two, moving in the direction you want to move. That only happens when you know where you want to go and if you're willing to start taking steps. Now, I'm not naive enough to say you wave a wand and suddenly you have everything. What I am saying is the joy is the journey. And the minute you take control of your life, make declarations about where you're going and start to go in that direction, Life can be fun. Starting that day, not I'll be happy out there when. I just wanted to remind you of that. It's so important and so often overlooked. So many people live with what is obvious and easy, and I don't know if you are or not, but I want you to take stock of that, and if you're not happy with one or more aspects of your life, what are you doing about it? What are you waiting for? Something isn't going to happen suddenly to make it better. No one is coming to rescue anything. You and you alone are responsible for your life. You and you alone are responsible for your happiness. You and you alone are responsible for your actions, whatever they have been and whatever they are today and tomorrow. If there are things that have happened to you or that you've done in the past, forgiveness is the antidote, making whatever amends are possible, but making commitments about who you're going to be today, right now, in this moment. You may perceive 1,000 obstacles between you and the palace of power we're talking about, the power to create your ultimate life. Well, most of those obstacles, if not every single one of them, you have put there. You can jump over all of them right now and land at your ultimate life, not making everybody do whatever you want, but taking joy, comfort, and power in the truth that you own your life and you can create it any way you want. If you want to know more about how to do that, then reach out to me. I'm easy to find on Facebook. Send me a message. Send me an email, Coach Kellan Fluckiger at gmail.com. Communicate. You're not going to get that by doing nothing. Procrastination isn't your friend, and you won't get there without action. So if that is something you've decided to do and you've had enough of where you're at right now and you want to build this palace of power for real, not just listen to these episodes and say, oh, that's cool, or I disagree, that's stupid, or whatever, but not change anything, then all that will happen is words go in your ear, you feel whatever you feel, they go out, and your day goes on, and your week goes on, and your life goes on. The purpose of my mission and my podcast and my books and everything else is to invite you to your ultimate life and to help you get there. If I can help you, reach out. Today, the particular piece we're talking about is the second stone in the pillar of integrity. Integrity is one of the key central pieces in having the power you need to create your ultimate life. Integrity means consistency, transparency. You are who you say you are. You do what you say. You live with no camouflage, no fooling, no hiding. And you live knowing that you keep your word and you do and are how you present yourself. So yesterday we talked about how simple integrity really is. It is almost never difficult to figure out what we need to do or say in a given situation if we have declared principles that guide our lives and if we make a choice to live true to those. Today, I want to dive right into the gray, because sometimes you hear a lot of things about, the gray areas, right? The gray, ambiguous, kind of squishy stuff. Well, there's two thoughts, not two thoughts, but two kinds of ambiguity. One is sometimes we don't know all we might need to know. We're aware of whatever we have, whatever we know. The other thing we can add to what we know is our intuition, our feelings, and something that those who achieve the ultimate life know very well is that intuition is key. Learning to listen to your inner voice, learning to trust that thought, that feeling inside of you that is guiding you is key. So you might not know everything. In fact, most of the time we really don't know everything. We know enough to start, and on top of that, we have some intuition. Now, the first piece of this gray stuff is uncertainty when we don't know enough or it's not clear to us what our intuition is saying. That happens less and less as you go through practice of meditation and you get really familiar with the voice of the universe or the spirit or your intuition. But let's just say you don't have that and there's not knowing enough. So that's one kind. The other kind of gray is when you're worried too much about what somebody else is going to think. Ego, witot, what I think others think, how my standing and position in the world. that kind of gray is very slippery. That kind of gray almost always gets you into trouble. If you are pulled in a direction that is not consistent with the values you have declared yourself to be aligned with, who you have declared yourself to be, and you're making the excuse that it's ambiguous or gray, or it's not that bad, or I'm not really hurting anybody, or nobody really knows, or it's really unclear, and all of the related sort of nonsense excuses, I can promise you one thing: that is not the road to power. That is not the road to integrity. That is not the road to peace, and to have the clear conscience and to live in integrity, which is what creates personal power. Personal power doesn't come from lying, from hiding, from deceit. It doesn't. Now, one of the things that helps solving these complexities is two things. One, if it's the first, where you don't have enough information and you're not clear in your own mind what to do, even trying to listen to your intuition, is dig deeper into that intuition. Feel into what seems right. You almost always, and I will say always, I'm going to say almost so that someone doesn't jump up and down and say it's not always, but I think it's always, have a sense of what the right thing to do is. The right thing to say, the right thing not to say, whether to act, whether to remove yourself from a situation, whether to get in deeper or get out of there. So number one, the gray areas is dig into your intuition and then act. Don't hang around unless the intuition is do nothing and get out of there. The second part, when you're worried about your ego, you're worried about what people are going to think, you're worried about losing an advantage or an opportunity, or there's something there and you just have to not quite act in accordance with your principles. Those are made really easy. Those complexities disappear if and immediately when you choose what you stand for, no matter what. Now, I don't know what your no matter what principles are. I have some. I have principles that I live by no matter what. I won't do these things, no matter what. I don't care who's telling me to or how much money's involved. There are certain things I won't do. Or certain things I always do. I have what I call true north principles. The truth that I think is eternal that we talked about in the last pillar. When you have those, decisions become facilitated. They're easy. It's clear. If I'm a person that always tells the truth, then I either say nothing, unless saying nothing is tantamount to lying, or I tell the truth. Now, that's not difficult to do. And as soon as I say something like that, people, and they start with all those excuses. I've learned in all my years of coaching, as soon as someone starts a sentence with the word, when it's spoken like that, you can pretty much ignore everything that comes after that. Just turn it off. After that, it is usually either lies, excuses, or something that's just not true. Now, the third and last piece that I want to talk about in solving complex situations is about those times where there may not be a real clear answer. What the best thing to do is may not matter as much. Even in those times, you can act with integrity. And I'll explain how I view that in just a minute. Don't back away. If a decision is unimportant, then you can treat it as unimportant. You could not make it. You can just simply refuse to participate. But often we're in a situation where we really feel like we don't know what the best thing is. Now, the first thought I gave was to dig deeper into your intuition. The second one is related to that. If you feel you really don't know what to do, then again, go back to your bedrock principles and estimate. Estimate with regard to what you really think is true and not for convenience. So often, it's easier to do this. It's more convenient if I just ignore this. If I just don't say anything. Convenience is not a substitute for integrity. Living for your own convenience will not bring you power. It will not bring you integrity, and it will not help this pillar of integrity create the power you need to have your ultimate life. And it will not give you clarity or a clear conscience when you look at yourself in the mirror. When you look at in your own face in the mirror, do you like what you see? Can you look truly into the eyes of that person and believe your honesty, your integrity, your love for humanity at a deep and powerful level? That's really the question. So when all else fails and you don't seem to come to a conclusion, we have to estimate. But if we estimate based on the principles that we have declared and not on convenience, we will rarely, if ever, go wrong. And if you are a person of integrity and you have this pillar and you live according to that, even if you make mistakes, which you will do, there's nothing at all holding you back from immediately correcting it. That was wrong. Let's do this. Because you're not someone who's worried about ego, appearances, or anything else. You're simply worried about what is right. So integrity is simple, we talked about yesterday. Integrity is complex today, meaning it can be true in all of the complicated, difficult, and complex situations. And when you get past that, if there are things that you do find weren't the best choice, it's easy to say, clean it up. And when I say easy, I don't mean, it's without consequence. If a mistake was made, there are consequences and you might need to clean some stuff up. Well, far better to do that than to live in shame, in avoidance, and pretending something away. That is not integrity. It does not bring peace of conscience. It does not build this pillar and does not support the power you need to create your ultimate life. That is why you can use the principle of integrity to solve even the most complex situations as you build your ultimate life.
Open your heart and this time around.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. We hope that you take it deeply into your heart and decide for yourself how you can create anything you desire. If you like what you heard, please subscribe to this podcast and share it with your friends. As always, we'd love to hear your feedback and topic suggestions. Until tomorrow, this is Your Ultimate Life with host Kellan Fluckiger.
Stand with your heart in the sky and your